Good morning, everyone. Warm welcome to our seventh online international conference on the series of sustainability, recent development research, and practice of sustainable development towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We normally start by connecting the research and the work we do at WSD, the World Association for Sustainable Development, with our engagement and interaction and collaboration with the United Nations to show the connections. What we are doing here is very much falling into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But because of the time commitment of the speakers, and the two of them, Dr. Mustafa and Professor Arshi, they're both in the Gulf now, and the timing is very critical. So I'm going to start by swabbing a little bit. So first, we're going to go and look at the analysis we have done about this topic. But let me just introduce the topic very quickly. We all followed, and even this morning, when we wake up in the morning, we heard in our BBC News, there was still fresh, or there were fresh strikes between Israel and Iran just last night. So this is a very serious situation in the Gulf. It's been there for 3 years. I remember I witnessed it when I was in Saudi Arabia back in February. It's going on to 100 days, which is 3 months now. And it has serious, very serious impact. We know it here. It's affecting the UK, Europe, everywhere, because we talk about energy and oil. And the bulk of the oil in the whole world is coming from that region, which is the Middle East, particularly this highly producing oil like Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Qatar, and so on. But that's the bulk of our oil is coming from that region. And what is happening here is threefold. One of them, the international trade is being completely affected by this, because you can see there is no way these ships can travel to come to the UK or go to Europe or Africa because of the Strait of Hormuz. It's being closed or very fragile. No one can move there. Secondly, these highly producing oil countries like Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and others, they have been affected by the war, because even 2 days ago, there have been bombing or strikes on Bahrain and Kuwait. And number three, the general atmosphere worldwide is not favoring any international, if you like, exchanges of any goods and services. We have seen it here in the UK, is affecting the entire world. So what we have been doing over the last 2 years, at least, we have initiated something called SDG Tracker to track the development and the progress of all countries across the world on SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. One of them is SDG 7, for example, the clean energy. And also, this issue we're going to discuss has a relationship to SDG 9, which is technology and innovation, because clean energy needs technology. But also, more importantly, we're going to reflect on the climate change. What Professor Arshi is going to present to us is what we think what is going on here is likely, because you need time to analyze the impact of this, but the impact, we have seen it all. And then we will go backward to see what the United Nations think, or what was the situation of the progress of countries in the Middle East. Luckily enough, we have studied all of them. The 22 Arab countries, we all have reviewed them: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Algeria, Sudan, Tunisia, all of them. So we will show you live demonstration, but let's see what is happening here. So I think without further ado, and because of the time, I'm going to travel, if you like, to Saudi Arabia. So Professor Arshi, I think you are co-host now, so you can unmute and share your slide, because I know for the time. So if you can unmute and share your slide, Professor Arshi. Professor Arshi is a well-distinguished academic, top researcher worldwide. She's our senior editor, and also she's the academic director for the London Institute for Sustainable Development. We should hopefully see her in 2 weeks here in London, but now she's joining us from Saudi Arabia. So Professor Arshi, if you hear me, you can.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, UK, and good afternoon, other part of the world. Can you hear me, Professor Alam and everyone?
But we can't see you. Now we see you, yes.
And can you hear me?
Now we see you and hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Alam. And I think my slides are visible?
Yes, everything is fine.
Well, thank you so much. There's a little bit of connectivity issues here, but I will try to make sure that things go fine from my side. Thank you so much, Professor Alam, for this generous introduction. And today, as academicians, as researchers, we have a very important role to present the global.
Archie.
Yes, I will try that because just because of connectivity, it was not going that way. I've already put it on the presentation mode. Okay. I will wait until it's going on. Otherwise, I'll just give a small introduction. So coming back to the point, as an academician, as a researcher, we all have a very important responsibility to present, to reflect what is going on globally, and to make sure that we are trying to address these issues through our research work. I would like to notify that this is really a preliminary study. As Professor Alam has mentioned, that until last night and even until today morning, I was watching on news that the crisis is growing maybe more deeper, and it's like an emergency situation out here. However, until from 28th February until now, what we have been watching, what we have been seeing, as a researcher, we would like to present in front of the world and to see what policy recommendations can be made in the current situation. Okay, I'm good now. I think it's in presentation mode. Yes. We have referred to International Energy Agency, which is a very prestigious agency, and it is monitoring or tracking the energy crisis globally. So we have studied almost 55 countries, which is corresponding to the current situation, current problem, I would say, and to find out what are the possible solutions that we can work as a researcher, as a community, and as a global people around the world. So this study is actually examining different countries' global policies in response to the 2026 energy crisis. In the current study, we have been focusing only on the current war. However, this is also a situation that we have been facing because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. So all these cumulative problems have given a major concern, or you can say market disruption globally, as well as in Middle East conflict. Our methodology is based on quantitative descriptive research design. We have studied the policies of almost 55 countries, and we have been seeing that how these countries are trying to manage this crisis and building some strong, sustainable solutions. The findings are indicating that energy saving campaigns, transport related restrictions, work from home or remote learning, and some other restrictions on using some energy products like LPG and so on can help to maintain the security for some period of time. However, these solutions are not very effective because we know that until now we have not been achieved to any reasonable solution or any peaceful solution, I would say, in the region. So these are just a suggestion, and this is really for the time being, we would say. This is a real, you can say, original work, because for now, this is the first time we, as a researcher, along with Professor Alam, we tried to build a first comparative assessment based on the demand policy, based on the 2026 energy crisis, and our major work is contributed by the literature we have received from international energy agencies. But I would like to notify that this research is not going to end. This is an ongoing process because we are still having some more data, some more critical situation coming in, and we are still working on some more recommendation systems. So let's see until now what we have achieved. In 2026 energy crisis that we are currently in here, we found that most of the disruption in the global market is due to war. And this is major because of Iran conflict, which happened in exactly on 28th February 2026. One fine morning, we got up and we heard in the news, in Al Jazeera, on BBC, and other news channels that the situation in Middle East is really critical. And the people who are living in all these countries are still under stress. And we have also found that there are major disruption There is a restriction on Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the biggest, or you can say largest, quickest pathway for the transformation of energy and for the transportation of the energy across the globe. We also found that this crisis is not only for the Middle East, it is a global crisis. It has disrupted supply chain management. It has disrupted economic stability and international trade. We found that some major utilities, some you can say emergency situations have arisen because of this situation. Like basic amenities like LPG, which is liquefied natural gas used in households for cooking purposes, petroleum, some other energy crisis is faced almost everywhere in the world. However, there are many countries which are not depending on Middle East for many energy sources, but the entire world is being impacted because of that. After February, during March and April, we found more escalation of military activities, attacking on the regional agencies, disrupting the infrastructure, especially in UAE. We have found so many disruptions happening. Also, we saw that the energy importing countries are facing severe vulnerabilities related to supply chain management. And countries, especially the government, they are answerable to the people that how we are going to manage in such situations, especially in a country like India, where we have the population which is completely depending on LPG. And being Indian, I'm watching on Indian news channels also that how families are struggling because of this basic amenities. So our major idea for the research was to work on national energy conservation campaigns. Countries are working on promotion remote and flexible working arrangement, trying to work on public transportation incentives, which is like encouraging people to use public transport instead of using their private automobiles to work, restrictions on non-essential traveling, restrictions on fuel rationing, energy efficiency programs are being introduced by many countries, also talking about consumer subsidies and targeted financial assistance for the companies who are promoting these campaigns. Then strategic petroleum reserves releases have been done by many countries. And at the same time, social media is also playing a major role by creating public awareness about how to meet these major crises and to have a sustainable months. We cannot say future, just months, because if this is going to continue, it is definitely going to impact the globe in a very serious manner. So we see that the relevance of our research framework is major about measuring the 2026 energy crisis and how to solve the problems of security and demand. So for the first time, we are focusing on demand side, not on the supply side when we talk about energy. Also, we found that the framework should be focusing on the government reducing on the pressure related to energy supplies, providing some simultaneously protecting vulnerable consumers for rising energy prices and the fuel shortage problems. Also, we talked about how we can take measures like remote working, energy savings campaign, using public transportation, talking about fuel rationing, targeting consumer support programs, and so on. So if we are focusing on these framework, there are some, you can say, solutions, short-term solutions, I would say, for meeting this crisis. We have two research objectives. Number one, we will focus on that how we can going to assess the energy conservation measures implemented by the government during 2026 energy crisis. And the second objective, we will try to measure that how government strategies can protect consumers from this situation, like, for example, rising prices, inflation, fuel supply shortages, how we are going to meet this. These research objectives, I will tell you that they are very critical, very difficult to achieve, but we have tried to work on some literature. We have tried to present some solutions from our side. But we are very hopeful that if this situation is going to get over soon, we will be able to meet these objectives more effectively. For now, these are more, you can say, based on short-term commitment. So this study is contributing on emerging literature on crisis management. energy security and public policy by providing some kind of comparative assessment based on 2026 energy crisis. So we have depended on the data that we have collected for 3 months, from end of February, March, April, May, and we are already in June. In fact, until 4th June, we were collecting data and we were struggling with analysis that how we can give some good recommendation until 8th of June. And we have accessed various reports from different countries so that we can prepare our recommendation more meaningful and more applied. This study is not like based on any previous studies and having all the evaluation, because this is the work based on 3 months hard work and to come up with the statistics that we have collected and how we can provide some good solutions. Also, this study will be evidence-based, providing some or based on the policies that the government has taken in 55 countries to meet these problems. And the findings will offer a practical implication for policymakers seeking energy security, improving crisis, and preparing or being proactive for this situation. We know that we have vulnerable populations, especially in the developing countries, subcontinent area. How to protect this particular population from this kind of diversified energy problems, because it is not only about the war, it's also about so many side effects that is going to impact on employment, for example, education, protecting people rights. It's like a complete mess, a disastrous situation. The background, I would like to give you a short background here, that energy security became a global priority somewhere in 1973, when actually the world started to have an oil crisis. And that was the time the countries started to work on their policies, to work on what kind of energy supplies, how much quantity should be done, and so that it can be a sustainable supply. Subsequently, in 1979, when Iranian Revolution started, and in 1990, when Gulf War was there, in that time, the government started to work on more resilient energy system and more diversified energy sources, so that if such situations are frequent and coming again and again, how different countries can stand strong to fight with these situations. Another important point is that modern energy security is encompassing supply reliability, affordability, and economic stability. At the same time, also to contribute in environmental sustainability. So these countries, 55 countries that I'm going to mention later in my research methodology, are working on environmental sustainability, which means talking about some other resources that can be the substitute of or meeting this oil crisis. We have found that increasing global interconnectedness has made energy market more vulnerable, vulnerable in the sense that because of the geopolitical conflicts and supply chain disruptions, the entire globe is getting impacted. One Strait of Hormuz is closed, and we have been seeing that because of this one closure, how much the global crisis has been witnessed by the entire world. Now, coming back to 2026 global crisis, energy crisis, we have known that this is because of the trigger conflict in Middle East, and many countries are the part of it. But major countries, we know these are, for example, Israel, Iran, and Lebanon. And because of these 3 countries, the entire Middle East is under war zone, I would say. The crisis resulted in sharp increase in oil, gas prices are reaching skies, fuel shortages, inflation, and serious security concerns related to energy that is being faced by the world. So, what is the response of the government? The government is trying to respond from both sides, from supply side and demand side. So because we have to balance both situations, how to curb the demand at this point of time, how to provide a reasonable supply of these energies so that the population does not get affected by the basic needs. They should get the basic need or basic amenities like LPG. So the focus is strategic oil stock release, remote working arrangement, talking about fuel rationing, encouraging public transport, giving incentives, encouraging people not to use private transportations, having social media campaigns of energy saving, and supporting consumer support or consumer measures. All this will help in meeting the crisis for short term. But when we talk about long-term energy resilience program, we really hope and we really try that the world come to the peaceful end. Here in 2026 energy crisis, we also found that there are many case studies which are focusing on the government policies, how these disruptions can be overcome, and how this energy security can be enhanced. Moving ahead, I will talk about the research methodology that we have applied. For the particular research, our data is more focusing on International Energy Agency. And this agency has studied 55 countries, tracked the response, and worked on various areas. From this data, we have identified 2 research objectives, and we have identified 2 variables based on 2 key performance indicators. And these 2 key performance indicators are categorized under energy conservation measure and consumer protection and support measures. I will present how did we do that. But before that, I would like to explain that this study is based more on quantitative study. And the reason is simple, that until now, we do not have many case studies, many qualitative research work from other countries. So based on what we have received from this agency, we have tried to make a comparative analysis. And we have tried to also introduce what recommendations can be made to all the countries which are mostly impacted by this crisis. We found that the findings are interpreted by energy, security, demand side management, and the framework will evaluate that how government can balance conservation and how they can protect consumers. So this is basically a cross-country assessment in response to 2026 energy crisis. We have 2 research objectives that I have already explained to you. Now I will show you what is our contribution and how did we measure the results. This 2026 energy crisis is triggered due to the war, we all know. And because of that, we face disruption in global oil supplies, especially in Middle East, prompted by the government worldwide, and this is impacting the energy policies across the world. IEA Energy Crisis Policy Response Tracker reveals that the government primarily should focus on 2 areas. What are those 2 areas? Number 1, manage the demand by conservation measures. Now, how to do that, I will explain it to you. And the second one is to protect the consumers, especially the vulnerable consumers, from rising energy crisis, inflation, and fuel shortage. So we have found the response from 55 countries. And this tracker has tried to see the region-wide study also. When we are measuring our research objective 1, which is focusing on conservation policies, our indicators were the number of countries which are implementing the measures, conservation measures. We found that the frequency count and the percentage of 55 countries were completely, you can say significantly varying. Here you have the result for the conservation. 37 countries said that they have applied a campaign based on social media campaigns, I would say, on energy saving. So 67.3% impact has been found in these countries. You definitely would like to know that who are these countries that I'm going to cover later in my same presentation. 25 countries focused on travel restriction, using public transport, and we found that 45.5% impact has been achieved. Government travel restrictions, 20 countries have imposed this, and the response is 36.4. Work from home policies, only 17 countries have applied this, and the response rate was 30.9%. Cooling or limiting the conditioning or air conditioning was applied by 8 countries also, which means reducing the working hours in the office and just promoting more work from home. And we found that only 14.5% impact was achieved. And we also found the closure or reducing of hours, opening hours in universities, schools, and offices. Only 7 countries have applied that, and the response rate was 12.7. So let's see the result of these statistics. What happened? The findings indicated that the public awareness and energy saving campaign were mostly adopted by 37 countries, impacting 67.3%, as I've already explained, which means that the government is frequently encouraging citizens and businesses and offices to reduce the electricity consumption, reduce the consumption of fuel through awareness programs. Many countries, almost 25 countries, focusing on using transport, or maybe also asking people who are going in the same office to club together and use the same, for example, transport to reach to their workplaces. These measures is also aligning with the IE recommendations about the transport interventions that can really reduce the oil demand. Because as we have seen in the result, that 45% of the global oil consumption is impacted because of this particular measure. These actions were sought to commute for official travel, and also it helped in lowering the fuel demand. Cooling restriction. Now, cooling restriction is mostly applied in the offices and educational institutions where institutions are using central cooling system. So the areas which are not having any population or students or the faculty members or the administration part were asked to be not using the cooling system. And this was adopted, as I told you, only few countries, 12.5% impact has been found. So if we see the overall result, we found that the suggestion or recommendation made by the government has impacted the mobility related conservation, and also about implementing the restriction on certain amenities. So it has impacted not very widely, but given good results. Coming to the research objective 2, which was about consumer protection measures. As I told you that we are focusing on, sorry, I have to go back. Yes, on research objective 2. So the indicators were how many countries have implemented this and how many countries are actually providing support to their consumers. And this was measured by the count of support. Now here we have a very interesting table, table 4, where you can clearly see the different countries who are working very strongly, very actively to meet these challenges. Like for public transport, you will find Lithuania, Pakistan, Philippines, Sweden. They are working and they are tracking and they are encouraging people to use public transport. When we talk about fuel rationing, we found that Nepal, Myanmar, Brunei, Sri Lanka, Slovenia, these are the countries which are working on these indicators for rationing the fuel. LPG conservation, the countries like India, Nepal, and Maldives, they are more focusing on conservation of liquefied petroleum gas. And you will see, if you are watching the news, these regional news, you will find that the consumers are trying to apply or save energy at least for 3 months and so. And the government has also released orders from these countries that how much you can say securities they have, how much reservoirs they have, and how much demand they can overcome over a period of time. So many things we are seeing that government are trying to be transparent in the policies just to control the conflict that may arise at the regional level. Fuel supply prioritization is mostly seen by Ethiopia, only one country. So this is not really good result as given by EE tracker. Emergency declaration was given by, for example, Philippines, Madagascar, Marshall Island. They have already released emergency call due to these war situations. Social media campaign. Mostly the countries like Australia, Ireland, Singapore, Kuwait. Some countries are missing here because we did not want to make it longer. I would like to mention, for example, New Zealand also is a part of this particular between these 37 countries which are using social campaigns to create awareness about how to meet this challenge. So what happened after we studied the report, we found that our first research objective, which was focusing on energy conservation, energy saving campaign impacted 67.3%, which was mostly related to transport measure. And 45%, campaigns were related to 67.3%, and the transport related measure was 45.5%. And for consumer protection, we found that major focus by the government is about fuel rationing, talking about public transport support, and giving the priority to the use of LPG. So these are the two main findings that we have found by the study for 3 months. Now, our major finding that we would like to give you in points. We found that the supply side intervention was a key component to response to this global crisis. Almost 32 IE members, they have collectively joined, and they have released 400 million barrels of oil just to make sure that the largest emergency stock release can be overcome. We also found that the strategic petroleum reserve played a critical role in stabilizing the market and reducing energy security risk during these problems. IE members collectively came together, and over 1.2 billion barrels of the emergency reserves, providing effective buffer against the supply stock, has been released. We also found that on 28th February 2026, when suddenly this problem came up, severely disrupted oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz has impacted the entire world. We found that the oil export through the Strait of Hormuz fell almost 10% pre-conflict level, and that has impacted the energy market. This disruption has highlighted the vulnerability of energy crisis due to geopolitical conflict and critical energy transit routes. I also would like to notify and give stress on that this is not only due to the crisis that is happening in the Middle East. This is also impacted by the crisis which is happening in Russia and Ukraine, and some other countries which are the part of war zone or war conflicts, like Sudan, I would like to mention here. So our finding emphasized the importance of strategic reserves, international cooperation, and talking about energy resilience in managing large-scale energy disruptions that is happening in the current scenario. We talk about policy implications. We studied these 55 countries. I have to go back, I'm sorry. And what are the recommendations that we have found? We found that the institutionalized energy conservation programs and public awareness campaigns is a part of national energy emergency plans, which has been inculcated by these 5 countries. Strong demand side management through remote working, travel reduction, and public transportation promotion can solve the problems in the short term, not for the long term. I'm again insisting on this point. Investment in digital infrastructure, efficient public transport system can help to improve the energy resilience. Giving the priority to the consumers, promoting the broad energy subsidies, protecting the vulnerable household can also help in managing the crisis for a short period of time. Developing the fuel rationing, talking about essential use priority programs, and talking about future energy emergencies can also help to meet this crisis for over a period of time. We also talk about accelerating investment in renewable energy, talking about energy efficiency and electrification alternative fuels when such situations are emergent and now you can say more frequently happening in the world. Reducing depending on imported fuels can also help in energy diversification. We also recommended that the strategic petroleum reserves, emerging stock management systems can help to meet this energy crisis and can help to meet the demand. We can also talk about enhancing international and regional cooperation to improve coordinated responses to such energy crisis, balancing short-term energy security measures and long-term sustainability in climate objectives. Last but not the least, we also talk about consumer protection, talking about integrating this energy security and focusing on sustainable development goals, which is elaborated by United Nations in 2015. I would like to conclude that today, when we are here in this research, we are all together. Let's pray, let's put our hands together that this war should come to an end and we can make a peaceful world for everyone to live happily, peacefully in an harmony situation. But until now, there is no solution that we can see in the near future. And based on these research, we can make our contribution. We can create an awareness at the world level that how the countries can meet these challenges. So 2026 energy crisis promoted by government by adopting different range of energy conservation and protection measures can help for the time being. Some energy saving campaigns, transport restriction, public transport promotion, working from home, travel restrictions, travel limitations, I would say restriction is not the right word. In this situation, we can help to meet the demand by providing some supplies. Also, consumer protection measures like including fuel rationing, talking about public transportation subsidies, giving the priorities to essential areas can reduce the economic impact to some business, to some households. The findings have demonstrated the effective energy crisis management can help to meet the conservation notions or conservation objectives. Energy diversification, renewable energy deployment, and intervention cooperation can help in strengthening the long-term security. Integrating the short-term emergency in response to such war situation can also help to build affordable energy systems. Thank you so much for being the part of this research. Thank you so much for being the part of collective efforts. And today, I would like to end with a short prayer that let's make the world peaceful and livable for us and for the future generation. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to present this crisis management and this research on the war that we all are the part, or we are all impacted due to this emergency situation. All the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Arshi. I think this is wonderful start, and I can see you got a big clap from Professor Mustafa there. Thank you very much. And I think we really appreciate your time, and I know you have to dash quickly to your class. Let me quickly maybe add something here before we continue to the next speaker. There's something important we need to, which is we need to tell you what we have been doing in terms of this issue and other issues. Let me just make sure, where is it? Okay. Stop share, just 1 second. Speaker. This is a PowerPoint and so just to quickly, WSD, we have been involved with many organizations, public, private, universities, United Nations, and so on, because we really want to always be involved in understanding of the challenges like this is normally coming from our broader connectivity with companies, with universities, with private sector, with NGOs. Just look at here, for example, just one example, the Emirates Women Police Association. We involve with everyone and so on. So since 2016, we've been heavily involved with the United Nations. So we understand what is going on in the UN. I'm not saying better than others, but we have been lucky enough to understand the challenges even the UN is finding in terms of addressing these global issues. And we have been very lucky to contribute to the United Nations major report on policy uptake, because the UN is really keen on government to address all these global issues by using research. 2024, we've also been very, very lucky to have this intervention with the United Nations Director General in Geneva, where she emphasized that the UN view or see the role of the universities is not just about teaching or about delivering classrooms to students and having graduate, but she says in her own words, this is her own word, universities and academic institutions are not only centers of learning, but also hubs for innovation, research, and community engagement. They play a pivotal role in equipping the next generation with the knowledge and skill. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here in WSD. This is the status, and it is going. From 2023, the United Nations start to be alarmed by the different research from across the whole world, not necessarily from the UN system, alarming everyone that this SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, and we are only less than 3 years for the deadline. We're all supposed to be achieving these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is were launched 2015. By 2030, we're almost in 2027 now. But from 2023, the UN start to see what is going on and the progress. And you can see from the progress here, before this war, there is a massive challenges facing the United Nations or all countries, because the United Nations is countries' membership of our organization. So it's affecting all of us. If you look to SDG 7, the one we are discussing more here today, which is clean energy, the green, it gives you an idea of the progress, but then you have the yellow, you have the red, and the red, that means we are off track, and the yellow, we are off track, but moderately, but more seriously, most of these indicators you can see in 1, 2, 3, and others, the gray color is telling you that we don't have adequate or enough or actual data. And the energy agency, which is Archie referred to it several times in the research we have just presented. Many countries, I have seen this by my own eyes in government offices, in ministries, in many Arab countries, in Middle Eastern countries, they don't even know where to find the data about their own country. There is a big problem of data. Data is the main issue here, I think part of the problem. I'm not speculating, but I think part of the problem, the UN cannot see good progress because we don't have enough data here. Now, the United Nations itself, the Secretary General Guterres in 2024, he said, despite the fact we can see only progress is happening around 17% to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but he said in his own word, but we are hoping artificial intelligence will help us to accelerate, not to achieve, to accelerate the achievement of the SDGs. So now the whole hope, artificial intelligence is helping, or which will help us to achieve these goals. And I will give you an example about the clean energy and others. So AI and machine learning can be used to accelerate progress on the SDGs, and the UN is already playing a crucial part. This is all from the UN. The last one is very important. AI for sustainability is already a branch of AI, and that explores the application of AI to achieve sustainability. I'm very glad my colleagues on the London Institute of Sustainable Development, they are leading now on a new MBA called Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning for Sustainability. So this is where we are all going ahead. Yes, the war came, and we have to have an emergency strategies, but our main strategy already been from 2024 going forward, is that AI will help us to achieve this one. This is fantastic work. It's not a new work, but it's led by our colleague before, Rabi'i from Tunisia and Cambridge. They said, this is going on for 6 years now. They anticipated, or they proposed that data science can solve and give us a solution to all our sustainability problem. If you look to number 7, this is exactly what Archie was saying. In terms of number 7, affordable and clean energy, according to the data scientists, these are data scientists, not energy experts. They said smart metering allows utility companies to increase or restrict the flow of electricity, gas, or water to reduce waste and ensure adequate supply at peak periods. And let me just remind you all, before the war, I was on Al Jazeera TV with people from, I can't remember, from Brazil and Washington and so on. The three of us were being asked to discuss at that time, Tehran municipality, or Tehran as a big city or as a capital, is running out of water. This is before the war. So you can see there are serious issues already happening, not only in Iran or in the Middle East. The issues are already there, but they've been escalated by the war. So globally, most scholars, the work we have been doing in the WSD for many years, more than 20 years now, we try to address the global challenges. There are many problems we all face. But if you go back, this slide is very old, by the way. And every time we go back to this slide, we can see it is real. Because for many years, we've been raising the issue that one of the global challenges we need to address is energy security and supply. This is a very old slide. Believe me, it's a very old slide. Conflict and terrorism is growing. And many people like our distinguished Professor Mariana at UCL, she keep raising the issue. We seem to be very able to find money for war, but we don't find money for development and eradicating poverty. If you just want to go and Google how much just the US personnel who are in the Gulf now, in the Middle East, how much it costs them every day. You will be astonished and shocked with the amount of money being used or consumed in wars. Go to Ukraine, the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, go to Sudan, go to Palestine, to Lebanon. So much billions of pounds or dollars are used in wars. So energy have always been one of the global challenges. But what's interesting, I really like this work. This work was presented in Al Qasim University in 2018. This is also almost 8 years ago. I like this approach in terms of policy. I really like it. This is by the Egypt government. What the Egyptians are doing, and I keep calling for all governments in the Middle East or Arab countries to follow the same. What the Egyptians they did in their Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, they said, let's identify the global challenges. So global challenges, number one is sustainable development and climate change. Number one, clean water. Number three, and go on. And they said, let's identify Egyptian challenges. Okay, we also have a problem of clean water. We have a problem of population. We have a problem of rich and poor gap, blah, 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 energy. And they said, let's see how the world how the strengths of these challenges globally and how the world is prioritizing them in terms of addressing them. And let's compare ourselves. If you look to number 13, globally, energy is one of the main issue globally we have always been discussing. As I said, it's very old challenge we've been facing. From an Egyptian point of view, that's really number 3. It's quite high in their agenda. So for the Egyptian government, energy is one of the very serious issues they are addressing. So I think if you can see, maybe the research we have been doing to go deep into, yes, these are global problems, what are we doing locally? And I am trying to stop here quickly and share with you another thing, which is our tracker. One of the best we found to help us. Sorry, let me go back to this one. Now, what we did 2 years ago, we launched it last year. Now we are very glad in 2 weeks' time, we're going to show diplomats of maybe 37 countries. We're going to show the participant real output of this application. I think the UN even, they like it. We have received very positive comments. Now, what we said, let's make sure we can track the progress because things are changing. As we speak, things are changing. So what we did, we did this, what we call it SDG tracker, is to track the progress of each country in all the 17 SDGs. Because of the time, I am going just to see if I can play this video quickly. We need to get
more from your holiday with TUI. More hotels designed.
In 2015, every nation on Earth made a shared promise: the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
Can you all see it? Please send me in the chat if you don't hear it and see it.
In 2015, every nation on Earth made a shared promise: the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. 17 goals to end poverty, protect our planet, and ensure prosperity for all. Each year, countries share their stories through voluntary national reviews, or VNRs, to reflect on progress and lessons learned. Yet behind these numbers lies a challenge. Not all countries report regularly or with comparable data, and so gaps emerge in information, in accountability, and in our collective understanding. This is the reporting gap. Some nations have never submitted a VNR. Others deviate from UN templates, making comparisons hard. And because the process is voluntary, true accountability remains out of reach. The SDGs Tracker project, developed under the World Association for Sustainable Development, set out to close that gap. Using a hybrid method of AI and human expert review, we analyze each VNR systematically, balancing speed with judgment and data with human context. Our analysis is anchored in 5 pillars and a standardized scoring system for all 17 goals, a framework that turns diverse reports into comparable insights. The findings reveal a mixed picture. Progress in health, education, and gender equality is real, yet inequality is rising. Climate commitments lag, and data systems remain weak. Our research shows that data is transformative when shared and trusted. Countries that learn from each other advance faster, because good reporting is not the goal, better implementation is. This project is about more than documents. It's about people, about staying on track with our shared promise for 2030, and reminding the world that no country is alone. Explore the SDGs Tracker platform to see the data, discover the trends, and join the global effort for a more sustainable future.
Now, just wanted to make sure I can stop this. Let me go back to the Zoom. So let me stop the share. Now, you have heard from that quick summary of what we're doing here, that the UN in 2015, they requested all countries in the world to provide what they call it voluntary national review. So we know what is happening, because we need to solve this global problem. This issue of what's happening in the Middle East now is not new. Wars are going on. Ukraine, as Archie mentioned, is already costing a lot of, it affected. The big hit for Europe by the Ukraine-Russian crisis was energy. Germany depend, I think I can't remember the exact percentage, but hugely on the gas coming from Russia. Germany is this giant country is depending on Russia on a lot of energy consumer, particularly gas and so on. Now, if you hear there, now we are in 2026. This is 11 to 12 years now. We're going through 12 years, and not all countries even submitting their progress report. Can you think of a big country never submitted a single report to the United Nations about their progress towards sustainable development goals? Just think what could be. All countries, they're supposed to submit. This year, there's a lot of Arab countries are going to present their reports at the United Nations in next month, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Algeria. This year, I think there are 37 countries that are going to present. Last year, we had Qatar, Oman, Sudan, all these presented last year. This year, we have countries. But can you believe it? The United States of America, the leading country in the world, United States and China are not being accused, but they are the 2 big polluters of this world. China submitted 1 report for the entire 11 years, but the United States never submitted a single report. Even when I mentioned this in Geneva, believe it or not, some UN officials, they were shocked. They didn't know that, because we went and digged onto their own data, and we find in the data of the high-level forum, which part of the UN in New York, collecting the data from countries, we were shocked not to find a single report submitted by the United States, not a single one. China submitted 1. United Kingdom, only 1 report back in 2019. So in that particular, if you like, box, Middle Eastern countries are doing much better than Europe and in the United States. So I will just show you 3-4 results from the tracker, and then we will go to the next bit. So it will cement the idea. So if we go back to share, we'll do this very quickly, if you don't mind me, or maybe let me stop this one. I think we have to do this one, speaker profile, and then we share. So now we go back to the tracker. This is the tracker. Let's show you something, number 1. In terms of report being submitted, you can see Qatar submitted 4 out of 4. So the state of Qatar is leading across the whole world, one of the top countries worldwide, submitting the top number of reports worldwide, include Indonesia, but include Qatar. And I think Qatar is the only country in the Middle East which has done that. That's number one. If we can look at the overall completion of the SDGs, you have another fantastic result from the Arab countries, including Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. So they are all doing well, these countries, Morocco. So this is here we're referring to overall. So overall, I am doing this. Although overall we said we are only 17% achieved or progress is being made so far. When it comes to on track, I'm not overall doing well, but at least I am on track. I'm slow. I'm still in London. I got 13 hours to fly to Tokyo, but I'm still on track. What does that on track mean? I either now on the train going to Heathrow Airport, or I am on the taxi, or I am at the airport waiting to departure. This means you are on track to reach Tokyo after 13 hours. Again, you find Oman, UAE, these countries are on track. You find Qatar, you find Saudi Arabia, who else? Algeria, and so on. When it comes to the real question, achieved, who achieved these goals? Now here you get the big shock. Qatar achieved 3 of them. Saudi Arabia, in our internal analysis, in the report they are submitting in July next month, they could easily show that they have achieved 2. As I said, it officially will be presented next month. But so far documented which country in Arab countries or the Middle East which achieve these goals, Qatar achieved 3 out of the 17. But if you look to the overall picture, then Norway, which is one of the leading countries in SDGs, only achieved 4. Japan, 4. If you look at countries like Canada, only achieved 2. So Saudi Arabia is the same like Canada. Qatar is even better than Canada in achieving those goals. Let's go to the one concerning us quickly. If we go to look to SDG specifically, number 7. Number 7 is affordable and clean energy, the one big in question out of the 17. In terms of achieved, none of the Middle Eastern countries achieved that goals. None of them. In terms of on track to achieve that goal, this is before the war, by the way, you have Oman on track, Qatar on track, and Saudi Arabia on track. Now, moderately off track. What is moderately off track mean? They are not really off track, but they are moderately off track. Then you have quite good number of Arab or Middle Eastern countries, Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, for example, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya. These are reasonably off track, but moderately, not very seriously. But the issue is when you go back to off track, completely off track, they are not on track. These also include countries like Sudan. Sudan is off track. So we have 5 categories: achieved, on track, moderately off track, and seriously off track. So in the entire Middle or Arab countries, Sudan is off track. And of course, obviously, there's the war and so on. But when you come to those seriously off track, interestingly, you will find Syria, Palestine, Yemen, and Tunisia. Of course, you can go back, and also Somalia is seriously off track. But you can see Syria, Palestine, these are countries. Syria is just coming out of the war. Palestine, they are literally being demolished completely. So, but the good news is we do have a report. It's an old report. We were able to identify or to say where they have been. Of course, what happened in the last 2-3 years is demolishing entire Palestine. The result, if they present a report now, it will be much more serious. Yemen is also seriously off track. But interestingly, you can see Tunisia and Somalia. Now, I'm not sure, no progress at all mentioned. Is there any country from the Arab countries? No. Sometimes countries, they are not mentioning anything. I mean, this is, you can go and check it. But if we go to climate action, which is one of the important goals referred to here, there is no country in the entire 50-something so far we have piloted achieve that goal, believe it or not, including Germany, China, UK, Norway, Japan. No one achieved this goal. No one. So the Arab countries are the same, or Middle Eastern. On track, we have few on track, but the good news is in the on track, you have Qatar, UAE, and Oman, which is good. So in terms of climate change or climate action in general on this target, and we have 3 countries from the Middle East are on track. And you can see they are joining Germany, Japan, and Norway, big countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE. And if you go to the seriously off track, you will find Iraq joining the club of seriously off track, Palestine, Syria, and Yemen. You can see then they then echo here. Palestine, Somalia, Yemen, and Syria, they are seriously off track, I think, in most of the targets. And then if you go, and then the list will go on and on. If you look into off track, just off track, but not very serious and not moderate, then you have countries like Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, and so on and so on. Now, interestingly, let me give you an example of Sudan. Why? Because also to give you the perspective. If you look at Sudan, Sudan is SDG completion is 31%, SDG on track, 0. Not a single one is on track. SDG achieved, 0. But it has something very interesting. Sudan submitted 3 reports out of 4 reports. So the top number of reports submitted over the last 11 or 12 years is 4. The highest number of countries submitted is 4 reports. Why this is important? Because at least we have reports so we can then analyze and can give prescription. If we have an examination, if you have seen a doctor, that's what the UK NHS here is very keen to do. They said that the top KPI or target for us is to make sure anyone feeling unwell, he or she is being seen by the doctor. Even if that seen mean online, at least we will know what's happened to Alam. He might seriously be ill or need treatment, but at least we need to know. And in that box, countries like Sudan, 3 out of 4, 75%. If you compare that to the United Kingdom only submitted a report back in 2019. If you compare that with China, 1 report. This is giant countries, if you call it with the US. So I think there is a lot of perspective here need to be considered when we're addressing this problem. I'm going to stop here. We will go to our next distinguished speaker, but I think just to be fair to all of you attending here, we can allow maybe question for 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Any question, please use the hand sign on your, there's something in the Zoom call reaction. I will show you now. Use this one and we can give you the chance. So use this one. And if you want to ask any question before we move, because the next talk is going to be quite, if you like, not difficult to absorb, but this is going to move to a different dimension, which is falling very well with what I just introduced. The UN now see the AI, and that is really, we're really pleased to have that talk coming now from Dr. Mustafa, because it's all about AI and it's going to focus on the AI, how the AI will help us even to understand. The UN, they are looking for the AI to help them understand the problem, which we have been doing. Secondly, to accelerate the progress, and we're going to see that shortly. But any questions so far? Any question? Just click on that hand sign and we will give you, please, quickly. After Dr. Mustafa, we will open the floor for everyone. But now if you have any question, please quickly raise the hand sign. No question, I cannot see any question, but anyway, you can, we're still going to open that. Any question before we move? Okay, let me now introduce our next speaker, Professor Mustafa Muhammad from Zayed University. Everyone is speaking WSD. You will go to our website, you will see his profile, his CV, his publications, and that's what we've been very, very lucky to manage to do that. And if I can show you this, if you don't mind me, Dr. Mustafa, why I want to introduce him from this side. So I can encourage you all to do the same, and you can see yourself the advantage of recording and documenting everyone in the as experts here, because those experts, we could connect them with their countries. So for example, UAE, if they ask us for advice, we will easily click on UAE and we can connect them with the experts from UAE. Let me just show you Dr. Mustafa from here. This is Dr. Mustafa. Immediately here you will see, it will make introduction easier. If you have any, if you're seeking any advice, consultation, you can go in SDG 9, 10, 12, 14, 17. Also, you can see at least 4 keywords: artificial intelligence, business informatics, innovation, marketing, and digital transformation. And then you can see a lot of details about him here. So this is the way we are doing. But what I really like, now I have to go to the seriousness of the business here. Not much, many universities, they have that. I haven't seen this in many universities. If you, although it is becoming now, but Professor Mustafa is Associate Professor of Digital Innovation Analytics from College of Interdisciplinary Studies. And I think this is quite important to mention it here. Interdisciplinary, the problems, the main reason for WSD academics who came together back in 1999, and then 2000, and then 2001, and we developed, is that we realized the problems of sustainable development cannot be addressed, resolved without people from different backgrounds working together. So the idea of interdisciplinary, I can't remember the first professor, I had his name, a professor of multidisciplinary studies or something, I can't remember. I'm sure there was someone, but this is really interesting. Universities really, they need to look to this. I was glad to see that at the department or a faculty of interdisciplinary. So you need to get people to work together. So without any further, I would like to give you the floor, Professor Mustafa. Okay, number one, you are a co-host now, so that means you can unmute and you can start sharing. And thank you for your time. You're also in Dubai. I think that's also another, I know the time difference is very difficult there. So yes. Can you unmute Professor Mustafa?
Okay, I said you hear me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Professor Alam, such an inspiring speech. I'm really a big fan of the World Association of Sustainable Development, and I still believe the trackers that you developed is an impressive achievement. I wish we can train every university librarians and the students on how to use this tracker and add up to it. And from there, maybe we can play more around the AI and how we can invest better and better to develop better solutions. Now, let's agree that I came from quite similar background, ICT for development. I was part of your foundation a long time ago. I keep sending my students. I do my own research on technology for sustainable development. And they still argue that we are talking about wicked problems from systems thinking perspective. And indeed, wicked problems would require not just multidisciplinary, it is interdisciplinary, where these backgrounds are melted with the same purpose of finding sort of structural solutions, sustainable solutions that would continue, because sometimes you solve a problem and you cause a bigger problem. So this is what we aim for. Considering the geopolitical situation at the moment in the Middle East, I will be talking today from my own experience based on existing projects that I've been involved in, some publications, and being a resident in UAE. So since the war started, the pressure around keeping the country safe, which we succeeded to do this, but more diversity of energy resources, more diversity of logistics of securing energy resources as well. So it's not just the production of energy, but the logistics and supply chain of securing, importing, and exporting these energy and utility sources. From there, my main argument here is that now UN and us, everybody believes AI has a big role out there. the main message that I'm delivering today is that we moved from using AI everywhere, but more specifically in energy diversity, from automation to make data analytics and project do forecasting to a sort of autonomy where we ask the AI agent to be an assistant. Now, the extreme, the physical impact of agentic AI is not yet there because we don't have super intelligence. We didn't link robotics with super intelligence yet, but we have these agentic AI platforms that manages things in their own without autonomy. They have full autonomy now. And recently you will see agentic AI, they have their own network, they talk to each other, and soon, once Elon Musk with his company owns the cloud of Anthropic and all AI providers, the agentic AI will unite. And in that case, what we democratized in terms of autonomy for agentic AI will not gain back. We need to stay alerted, controlling the agentic AI, especially in energy, because it might create a sort of metaphysical thing. In fashion, in culture, in tourism, agentic AI started to create its own culture, and it manipulates humans. So there is a metaphysical. The physical impact is not yet there. So I'm going to take it step by step. The main motivation of my speech and being inspired is actually by the president of United Arab Emirates, and his impressive call that our governmental services in UAE, 50% in 2 years would be agentic public services, which has an inspiring movement for all institutions, governmental, corporate, SMEs. And so the call here and my speech is under discussion. So all of you later, I would welcome that you question here. So I'm going to show you, the realities that we have in UAE, though maybe many of you wouldn't believe. Clearly, I was living here during the war, which is still, we have no assurance it's finished. We didn't face such a problem of energy. So this is the real version that we see in Masdar city. Neom in Saudi Arabia have, sort of quite similar version. I will show you this in a very short video, and then we go ahead with my intellectual analysis here. But warn me if you cannot hear.
I think, Dr. Mustafa, you need to reshare and click on share sound because sound is not shared.
Okay.
You stop sharing and then click to share again, but make sure you click that box saying share sound.
Very important point. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, so I wish you can hear.
Dashboards show the status of all connected assets, and the control center team receives alerts in real time to dispatch service.
Could you hear that?
Yes, just make the screen bigger and it's good.
Service teams where necessary. Dashboards show the status of all connected assets, and the control center team receives alerts in real time to dispatch service teams where necessary. Drones will monitor the health of plants for sustainable farming, and resilient infrastructure will be ensured by detecting leaks and bursts in the irrigation pipeline network before they occur. Sensors detect fill levels of smart waste bins located across the city to optimize collection operations. Air quality levels are continuously monitored throughout the city to detect any risks. When it comes to wastewater, a potential blockage in the networks can occur if accumulated fat, oil, and grease from any of Dubai's 20,000 plus restaurants is released into the network, a network of smart sensors installed at restaurants and cafes send data to an artificial intelligence system. The AI system predicts when fats, oil, and grease tanks require emptying and optimizes the scheduling and routing of the tanker fleet.
Cool. So I guess this is sort of a quick view of what we have in the United Arab Emirates. And this is what we call a comprehensive perspective of energy. So water, utility, even waste, anything that could generate any source of energy and carbon emissions is connected together in sensors and Internet of Things and create dashboards for AI to have this magic that we are talking about. So hopefully we can offer some solutions, whether conservation, as Professor Arshi well presented out there, alternative resources and other things. Now, go back to me being, a bloody academic and scholar out there. I still fancy this soft system methodology of Peter Checkland, who came actually from chemistry and biochemistry background into information system and technology. And he was actually, arguing that to understand any wicked problem, we need to identify the problem the right way, and we call it the area of concern, a framework of mind where we consult a specific body of knowledge, or maybe interdisciplinary knowledge in this case, and choose the right methodology. Now, my main contribution here in terms of soft system methodology within agentic AI is that this human-machine agency, it changes the way we define the problem and understand the area of concern, the way we define our frame of mind, because we have less agency and less control at the moment. The methodology, standardization, machine learning, synthesizing visuals, different sources of data, will change based on the human-machine agency. So these three elements will change. Now, I would have a key argument. As you see, we are moving from how agentic technologies help us to automate to how actually the agentic technology control and monitor and be decision maker. In energy, it is useful, so people don't feel stressed, but it is risky in the long run if we keep it going this way. So we need to have human, machine control. I've been recently invited to Takawun in Saudi Arabia, impressive governmental institution that develops technology out there in Saudi Arabia. And I've been, training them on how to develop agentic AI. The main purpose is that how we do this for a governmental company, but keep the top layer human control, not overnight they wake up and they see Claude is controlling everything out there in terms of functionality. So the area of concern need to be taken seriously in a different way about control. The way we understand wicked problems, how powerful we are as stakeholders, what type of stakeholders. When we define the word agency as humans, we have moral reasoning, we take actions, and we have results, ethical results as well. Do you think agentic AI for energy have these moral reasoning actions? Can we sue them? Can we sue the agentic AI if they did something wrong? So we need to rethink about how we judge the AI agency. And in terms of methodology, new methodologies, because AI compromises even emotional things that we are not aware of, our mobile phones, every other source, and we actually work for the agentic AI at the moment with data. We provide our data. So starting with the area of concern, I'm going to move a bit quicker with the evidence that we have about changing the shift, the way we understand this wicked energy. So since the war, we have supply chain disruption, and quite interesting that a country like Egypt have something similar, despite the fact that they have Suez Canal and other, so not just Strait of Hormuz, area. There are other countries vulnerable to this. UK, other, areas where they have wide variety of supply chain. Market volatility and the price of oil, during the war has been jumping. Economic security and imbalance. The war affected not just energy, but affected real estate, tourism, other things, and this all within the comprehensive perspective affects energy and security of any nation. The way we do advanced forecasting, unfortunately, in the past, we didn't take these geopolitical consideration in the algorithm for forecasting. It wasn't taken seriously. And I've been developing, specific prompts that will reduce the consumption of energy for any agentic AI. And I've been working with people from Salesforce in the United States and IBM to develop such an efficient prompt that make consumption of energy within the AI is less and less, almost 60% less. So as you can see, this is a projection of how the oil prices started to jump, especially in the second quarter of this year. You could see electricity demand increased because oil prices are higher, so people are moving towards more clean energy and electricity as alternative source. Clean, non-fossil energy, the huge demand is out there. There will be more need and more need. So it's not just oil crisis, it is creating other sources of widely diverse energy crisis. When it comes to other renewable energy, solar energy, there is a huge demand out there, but unfortunately still the amount of pipeline is okay, but a huge amount of other renewable energy sources is still under construction, even in Saudi Arabia and Gulf, in Egypt, where the sun is widely available out there. So there is a specific element of operationalization. Pipeline is still, a huge amount that we need to complete and be achievable out there. Now, when we see how much investments have been done in AI for energy, and having agentic energy is huge, and you could see United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are leading the way. In UAE, we have a Ministry of AI, and I think it's well known for everybody. Transparency, framework, legalization, constitution regulations for using AI. So AI in energy and the investment is there and it is accumulating. So I have specific case studies. One of them is Masdar, and the other one in Dubai. Third one in United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, Neom. So these are like the leading cases. Leading countries, Qatar, yes, definitely. Morocco, Egypt, Oman, they have leading AI and agentic energy AI cases out there, which have been documented, and we have evidence of this. So back to how we understand these wicked problems of energy challenges, is that we are moving towards agency, where the agentic energy is monitored and controlled completely with minimal human oversight. Now, it is well known, and in England, we faced this problem. We had a WannaCry virus for the NHS, affected not just the NHS, but energy. There were attempts to hack the energy system in UK, and this could create physical hazards as well if somebody hacks, agentic energy, because you can make disasters. It's a soft war where they can attack countries. We had this risk in UAE, and we've been advised, everybody, even at home, to change his Wi-Fi password and improve the security measures. Amazon Web Services was the first attacked institutions here, banks, all data servers and AI servers being hacked. So I'm calling for more sort of view, moving from how we understand the agentic engineers when they sit in their rooms, trying to think we are developing a technology that helps humans to solve the problem, towards social materiality. We need to believe that if we have American engineers or Indian engineers or whoever, they have their own background and they bring their own social construction, social experience on the technology, on the agentic technology. Now we are moving to the other extreme where agents, they create their what I call engine society. So they will speak to each other on the cloud, and they will have their own rules. They will control energy prices. They will control the reservation and reserve of every energy stock around the globe. We need more accountability, ethics, how we can manage operations for agentic energy. All these things we need to ask them to understand the wicked problem. And maybe the tracker for SDGs will have this in a better way. Moving on, and still under question, how we can understand this metaphysical definition of agency. So we moved from agency as human action with intention towards completely something that acts without our understanding. I'm calling for policy, governance, more than control. So, for example, when I talk about ADNOC and the supply chain of ADNOC as one of the leading oil companies here in UAE, and they have their own agentic AI applications out there. Full control over the supply chain means people would get isolated access. So if they move away in a different country, access to vital information would be very challenging. So I'm calling for this, what we call agile cybersecurity system, which is based on awareness of every individual employee, even clients. They need to have this awareness of voluntary sharing of data about SDGs and carbon emissions and other sustainability indications, so we can build a model of governance, then control, agility on understanding how agentic AI works. So this is one of the key considerations. Now we are talking about not just institutions, we are talking about sectors and nations. So when I see the president of our country here is calling for 50% agentic public services, I'm talking about sectors sharing applications and sharing practices of agentic AI. So the energy sector, which is comprehensive energy framework, could benefit from this. But if we keep sectors and countries not reporting the practice, not sharing their practice, building a unified institution or institutionalization of agentic AI, we lose. And the agentic AI will build its own intelligence, which will be out of our control. So I'm not saying we have in this situation now, but it is pretty close. In terms of methodology, and I wish I don't speak that fast. I have a French-English tongue, so please stop me, Professor Alam, if I speak very fast. In terms of methodology now, if you see the agentic AI and how it works, so it builds different sources of data from different agents. So the agentic AI has different agents involved in it, and it creates what we call categorization of types of information through machine learning. It creates a consensus, so it shows you that most of the data sources are saying that, and you start to believe in the agentic AI. It affects the way we innovate for sustainable innovation and sustainable energy. It creates a global mind on how we can solve these wicked problems, which is not good, to be honest, because we tried it before, and UN documented many standardized solutions for poverty, for energy crisis, and it didn't work. So we need more of customization and contextualization. If we go back to how to develop an agent, not fully agentic, just AI agent, we need to build a description with contextualization about language, about the industry inputs, so you can get quite appropriate outputs. But the agentic AI is reversing the process towards creating transcendental, appreciation of this is me, the father of other agents, the father of data. You humans need to follow my lead and my answer. This is what the agentic energy would create. And I'm warning, this is like sort of early alert for this. See, you can see United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and the leading countries who are trying to develop agentic energy have what we call comprehensive framework. So they link utility with the smart city applications, with water waste, healthcare, all of this affect each others. And you could see the system of agentic energy has layers. So the bottom layer is that you have utilities, oil, other sources, electricity, water and water waste. This is how we pay the bill for every month. And then there's a vertical layer where these utilities affect healthcare, affect our well-being, affect our mental health as well. Indeed, all of these resources affect our mental health. And the war was a very good example. When I remember my son's feeling during these missiles and the warnings that we received on our mobile phone, it affected people. But feeling secure about our energy, we didn't have this hungry purchase going to supermarkets, which we had, during COVID, to be honest, in UK. But having a sort of comprehensive model would have a better solution and better governance as we go. The digital layer is intelligence. These trackers, these dashboards that helps us to balance. So if you have a missile warning in that area, this means maybe the electricity demand will increase. Are we having oil-based engine to generate electricity? So the cybersecurity and physical security system is linked to the dashboards, linking wide diversity sources of energy. So this is how it works, frankly. Now, let's talk about the final thing, is that, these empowerments, enablers of the agentic energy out there. First, we need to have holistic technology, voluntary reporting and transparency, not just about the SDGs, as Professor Alam mentioned, and it's quite important, but also about creating transparency and reporting for the agentic AI practices itself. Does it work? It doesn't. If it doesn't work, how we can make it better? And it helps, maybe developing some other techniques of reporting without this formal reporting from a country like China. Can we use agentic AI to have accurate data about China without the government reporting itself? Still questioning, is it ethical? Is it not? All these questions are still there. Again, other enablers, having a roadmap, having integrated technology platform that doesn't have limitations. So it is not like a QQ, which is impressive, that works only in in China. To have WeChat, which is everything in China now is WeChat, you need to be endorsed by another Chinese user. So we need to have agentic AI that is acceptable by all governments who are part of United Nations, so we can have better agentic energy for all humans. So the vision here is to have not just UE as completely digital, but a global digitalization with agentic AI, where even personally you can go to work and you have AI agent, which have been part of this new technology recently. It's been developed in UK, and I can present this later to Professor Alam and to the community here, is that the agentic AI manages your bills while you are at work. So it turns off your electricity. You can control things while you are, away at work. It controls your water, electricity, other things at home for you, based on your budget, based on your personalized profile. Still risky because hackers can know when you are away and steal your house. So policymakers' implications, I think this is going to be an open call. And this is the last slide that I'm going to cover, actually. We need to have continuous evaluation, sort of auditing what we call agentic AI. I know it is fantastic, but it is not this magical word that would have a different world for us. Define what we call ethics, not just in energy, in education, in healthcare, and every other major applications of SDGs. More transparency, accountability to understand the life cycle of the agentic AI, and more human control than complete autonomy of the agentic AI. Thanks a lot. I wish it wasn't boring, but thank you, Professor Alam, for the chance. And yeah, questions are welcome, please.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Mustafa. This is, I think that's a very interesting statement or questions. It's not boring. This is very exciting and very entertaining, and I'm pretty sure everyone watched it. And I'm really, genuinely, I'm one of the best presentation I have ever heard about, really telling people how this AI. Many people, they ask us, can really AI solve the problem of the one? And I said to them, yes, if you ask an expert like Mustafa, he will tell you. This was very good presentation, particularly when it started by smart agriculture. I can tell you, Dr. Mustafa, smart agriculture, exactly the first call we have from Saudi Arabia. The Ministry of Agriculture, Water, Environment, and in Saudi Arabia, they are talking about smart agriculture. The Association of, the المنظمة العربية, the Association of Agriculture Development of the arm of the Arab League is talking about the smart agriculture and so on. Really fantastic. I think Dr. Mustafa is going to be here for, I don't know, we have him here. So quickly, I think we might need any question now. Now we open it for the floor. Fantastic presentation. Any question? Anyone want to discuss any of the two presentations? But I think the last one, Mustafa, is here. Please use that hand sign. So we will open for you. Where is it? This one.
Professor Alamso.
This one.
Doctor.
Yeah. Let me make sure I am not doing the wrong one. Lower hand. This is the one. Please click on this one so we will see you. Yes, we have. Let me, I tell you one thing we will do. It will make it easier for everyone. Lower hand. Now, let me, before I give you that, Barra, 1 second. Let me allow everyone. Okay, so we have Barra Hilal. Please unmute and fire your question.
Well, hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for this great talk. Thank you, everyone, for organizing this event. My question is, how practical is it to deploy such agentic AI systems in healthcare and in real life?
Excellent. Unmute, Dr. Mustafa. You are muted.
Yes. I'm sorry, just because I'm quite excited, so the device gets afraid. It's agentic AI controls my device. Very important question. I'm afraid to say it being practical, but because now we even have agentic hospitals in China, even in Egypt. They started agentic AI hospital where you can have a robot with MRI scanners, so you don't need to stay in this cave for 45 minutes to scan your body, and then it generates prescription for you. I know it has lots of mental risks because we don't trust machines, and agentic AI is still biased. If you look at countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE, we used to be segregated, and the confession of female healthcare data is restricted, not easy, not accumulated as you could think of. So most of the agentic AI decisions about healthcare are male dominated. So I'm going to give you an example of how the agentic healthcare started to work. Started actually from fashion. So when I get involved in developing agentic fashion application, ladies use this as empowerment. So you can upload a picture, convert it into avatar. They can dress themselves with fashionable abaya locally to Kardashian style with religious and cultural reservation as well. Now, the AI can even know the measurement of their neck, of their waist size, and they can tell if they are diabetic or almost pregnant. So this leads to accumulated healthcare data that we started to share with the healthcare sector. It gives a warning of maybe pre-cancer, other diseases. So now or I would say the main challenge of agentic healthcare system in UAE and in Gulf and in the Middle East is privacy. So if we have this legalization and legislation of open data, look at UK. Professor Alam would know that we have medical errors database where doctors can confess their medical errors. This is not everywhere. UK, I know you always have this impression about UK that they are full of diseases. No, they diagnose diseases before every other country. And we are transparent about it. We have COVID, we have Ebola, we have everything. We diagnose it, and we are open to discover medication. If we have such a policy here in Middle East, it will make things much better, and the agentic AI will be more effective, not just efficient, because we are still in the efficiency stage, not as effective. And still this is, psychological resistance to any change. And remember, Bara, this idea of digital immigrant versus digital native is still there. There are young people who are digital immigrant, technophobic. They don't like technology. They are people who are, I know, my first mentor, Trevor Woodharper, Mike Newman, these information system people, he died of 92 years old, and he was top tech guy. He knew all the iPhone applications and AI before I do. So still this resistance out there that makes it not fully applicable everywhere in the Middle East, but I'm afraid it is still there. It is there already applied for cancer detection, for many things.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, very interesting. And this is one of the areas we're working very hard on it, on digital health. And I think I will have offline talk with Dr. Mustafa. I can see that a complimentary comment from Mahfouja Barvin about Arshi's talk and Dr. Mustafa's talk. But interestingly, now Dr. Mustafa just addressed the agriculture, the smart agriculture, the drought management. This is all, yes, fantastic. But you mentioned something about with who through intercropping should be introduced, along with women and youth empowerment, because we have, this is two of our major initiatives. Do you mind, if you don't mind, or if you don't mind, Mahfouja, can you elaborate more on what exactly do you refer to here in terms of women and youth empowerment? You mean in terms of empowering women and youth by these technologies and this AI and Genetic One, or what do you mean here? If that's okay with you, to keep in Mahfouja. Because this is two of our major projects, women and youth empowerment. Anytime you want to, I can see your note here. Anyone else? Please unmute anytime, Mahfouja, if you want to join. Anyone else would like any question?
Can I address Mahfouja's comment from my perspective?
You read it already. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yes. Amazing. I mean, to be honest, even I've been defining how we define the word safety. I discovered that all these good words are mainly female defined. And it's quite important when we have these smart cities and agentic applications is to keep women safe. So we empower them, we allow them to share their data, share experience, being top Forbes investors, top in everywhere, but we need to maintain their safety as well, and their privacy, their identity, be free, but be safe. So we've been addressing agentic AI from safety perspective many times. So this compromise between three things, actually. Safety and innovation, because if you try to make it more secure, sometimes you kill innovation. And security and safety. So you want to improve, security, but does it mean safe? Because not every top secure system is safe. Actually, it could make women more vulnerable. So they cannot even share their experience of being vulnerable at work, being bullied, being harassed, being other things. So the agentic AI is supposed to understand their experience and help them to automatically report this and keep them safe. Not the other way around.
Excellent. Thank you. Mahfouja, I can see you. Do you want to make an intervention? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Greetings to sir. I want to say that women empowerment and youth empowerment should be involved in so many sectors such as poverty, pollution, smart agriculture, censoring, early warning system, etc., etc. What already Dr. Arshi ma'am and Dr. Mustafa sir mentioned. World is facing so many crises. So we have to tackle with both male and female contribution. Poverty to pollution, all where. That's all.
Excellent. And I can show you here, I hope I can quickly. These are two of our major projects, and I'm very happy to send you more details. If you see in our, because we only design the programs as per the demand being requested from us. One of them, I'm pretty sure I can show you here. One of them is youth leadership and sustainability. And this will be launched in September, particularly because, yes, you're absolutely right. We need to have them on board in terms of leading, in terms of this sustainability challenges. And I'm pretty sure the women one is already also being completed, will be launched in September. Where is the woman? Yes. We have an MBA, Women Leadership and Sustainability. Yes, I agree with you 100%. And as a result, these are the first programs being developed in our suite of MBAs because we think they are important. Now, Dr. Mustafa, you mentioned something earlier. I will definitely arrange to talk to you on this one. Very important because the SDG Tracker project or initiative, we will definitely invite you to join that team. But you mentioned something very important because this has been a question government asked me. You said like China, you gave the example of China. You said, how can we not just relying, because clearly the countries are not submitting report to the UN. The maximum submitted is 4. China submitted 1, UK 1, America nothing, Algeria 1, and so on. So, and they are old. Even the data we use here, some of them are 2019. The UK is 2019, 7 years. So you mentioned something very interesting. I know technically, I heard about this and I know roughly how it can help, but practically, do you think you can collect data about a meaningful data directed to address the SDGs, the 17 SDGs about China, for example? Because if there is no published reports, how can you give us something about this? How you can just give us a scenario, data to help us understand China's progress towards SDGs, apart from the one in their VNR, Voluntary National Report to the UN, or the US, no report for the UN.
Indeed, there were many attempts on web and social media data mining. This is why I mentioned WeChat, still very secure and restrictive, but there are many attempts on how to collect the data from WeChat. So we can guess, for example, women empowerment, you can tell from social media data, small business contribution, things about poverty, because they use it for a sort of what we call side hustle income to create, income from the social media and Meta and other, similar platforms. So you can tell about their income, how much it trade, how much e-commerce activities they do. You can also tell about energy consumption from social media data and web data. So I would say, if we have around 13, 16, I didn't count how many SDGs we have now, but we can at least get 10 out of these main SDGs through social media and web data without voluntary and approval from a specific government anyways.
It will be real breakthrough because this is really going to make a massive, and I think the best way, we will introduce you to the team and what we are doing, and maybe we can give you a report of a country like China. We say to you, this is what the Chinese have submitted in 2019. We don't know from 2019 officially. There is no official report to the UN. And if you can get data to all these 17s, we know what they submitted, we analyze it, we know what is it. So that will be really fantastic. And I tell you why it is important. We have a classic scenario between Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Qatar, the UN statement about Qatar in humanitarian support to the world, it says Qatar, as a state of Qatar, contributed, Qatar in their own report, they said we contributed in humanitarian aid by 4 point something billion dollars. $4 billion, dollar, we make it available for the United Nations, for the world to help humanitarian aid. And the UN acknowledged that. They said these 4 point whatever billion help not just to eradicate poverty in Qatar, but to help us in our other project with the United Nations refugees, United Nations, food, the food security, blah, blah, blah. But when you come to the next neighbor, which is Saudi Arabia, the King Salman Humanitarian Center, Saudi Arabia, that King Salman provided much more money to the world in terms of billions of dollars. But yet there's no clear documentation in the system of the UN of how much that money is helping. Of course, Saudi Arabia's humanitarian support by King Salman is much bigger than the Qatari 4 billions. One of the largest refugee camps in the world, it is in Bangladesh, is supported by Saudi Arabia. Remember the crisis in Turkey, Sudan, others. So I think this work will be really, really, really useful, Dr. Mustafa, and I think we need to come and meet with you offline to see where how we can benefit from this. Really good. Any other question? Any comments? Any other question? I think we make, thanks to the speaker, we made very good progress on time. I think we are very good in time. Any other questions? We appreciate your time, really. Any other question?
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Any other question?
Yeah.
Sir, why Middle East cannot implement more sustainable energy approach? Oh,
excellent question.
We cannot see much progress from Middle East.
Excellent, excellent. And if I can just show you one thing here, this is really the question why we did all this project, which is, and I will answer it from the tracker. Excellent. Here, if you go to the tracker, that exactly the question we wanted to address. Excellent. So you can see here the challenges. So if you go to climate change, for example, it's been mentioned by many, or let's go to Saudi, go to one of the Arab countries, of the one, for example, where is it? Where is the countries, for example? Let's go to where? Let's go to Egypt. I don't know. I'm just randomly selecting. Now, from their own reports, Egypt government official report is stating what are the challenges facing us. One of them, they said climate vulnerability. We are very vulnerable to the climate change, they said. Pollution is affecting us. This is the government of Egypt itself. But what is interesting here, this pollution is being mentioned as a problem, or climate vulnerability is also mentioned, the same like Egypt is struggling with it, by other countries like Bahrain, Canada, Comoros, Djibouti, and so on. So what we need in the next step, and maybe also we can engage Dr. Mustafa, we need to understand those countries, Canada, Bahrain, Comoros, Egypt, they both, or all of these 7 countries, they state is that we are very vulnerable to climate change. Are there any similarities, any lessons we can draw from Canada and Bahrain? Bahrain is an Arab country, a small country in the Gulf. Canada is a very far away, Canada quite huge, large country. Comoros, Indonesia, for example. What is the challenges for Indonesia? Why Indonesia's challenges are more or less similar in that perspective to the Egyptian one? Can you see Indonesia is sharing the same climate change as a challenge? And then they have other issues. Energy transition is a challenge in Indonesia and so on. But they have more other challenges you can see. They have a problem with environmental degradation, which is also mentioned by other countries. That's what we are doing here. Or it's only Indonesia which mentioned that. But again, we can also look at the lessons learned. Are there any lessons we can learn? And I think this is what I'm just trying to answer you by saying, yes, these are what we are planning to do. We have already started working on identifying why this particular part of the world, the Middle Eastern, are struggling with these issues of energy, for example. One of the lessons learned all countries agreed on is data. Number one in the whole world, so far, all of them, they said, the lesson we learned from the struggle we have is data and data and data. We don't have a data strategy. We have a lot of missing data and so on and so forth. I hope that answers your question to some extent, but this tracker, it's a work in progress. And I hope, Mahfouz, we can connect you with us, and we can also If you like, you can attend the session on the, I think, 25th of this month, where we will be presenting this about the progress about all these countries, 37, I think, in London. You can watch it live because it will be broadcasted. There will be diplomats, and we have asked the participants to also reflect about this question, for example, why this killing gift? What have you done with this killing gift from your government perspective? So the very, very good question, because that's the whole idea. We want to learn lessons. Why are these countries struggling? I mean, believe it or not, in the Arab countries, the only country mentioned as achieved the goal of education is Qatar. The only country in all Arab countries or Middle East achieved the goal of poverty, eradicating poverty, is Qatar. So that implies, or it has implication that Saudi Arabia, there is still poverty, UAE, Oman, Sudan, Egypt, blah, blah, blah. So these are key questions. Because when it comes to education, Qatar is in the same level of Germany, believe it or not, in terms of education systems and achieving the United Nations goal of education and so on. So there's a lot of details we want to grab from here. Also, what we want to do in that tracker, Mahfouja, is that if a country achieved a particular goal, say education, what are the lessons we can learn from that country to help other countries? Because there are other countries seriously off track on education target, seriously off track on poverty target. And here you have a country or countries which have managed to achieve that target, which is by the standard of the UN. So there is lots of questions we're going to be doing here. Any other question? Any other question? What we will do, if you all have no questions, we will just take a group picture. If anyone would like to join us, please open your camera. And Muhammad Bakri, thank you very much, Muhammad. Thank you, Muhammad. If anyone would like to join us on camera, we will just take a quick picture as a group and we will finish. I think we finish on time. Excellent. I think we finished just on 2 hours, which is perfect, really. Anyone would like to join us before we take this group picture? Because whenever we do online, because nice to see you, Barra. I think you have a very nice, I like the people who use blank background, because for the digital people, in always they tell me, Alam, picture has to be a black background. But Mustafa, your background is fantastic. I don't know how you managed to, we always struggle to use fantastic, really. I really like. I think we need to learn from you because we have a whole day online out of the 4. Maybe you need to give our team tips because people are going to join from all over the world. And it would be nice if they can all have standard background for the conference. Excellent. Anyone else would like to join us before we bring the screen? Okay, I will do this now. Okay, the screen. And I can put it to you here. I think this is what I got here. Excellent. And I think we can also put it here for people who are joining us. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Thank you, Professor Arshi. I think she left us now. Thank you to all of you. And in 2 days, I know we don't normally do that, but because of a lot of things, we have a lot of activities going on because our conference is in 2 weeks. Not tomorrow, on the day after, we're going to talk about international university ranking. This has been a huge issue. We discussed this issue in Geneva in 2024, and it raised a lot of questions. And every day we hear about this issue. This is a very, very serious issue for higher education. And we can hear also some universities like Sorbonne, they said they are abandoning this ranking. They don't like to follow the ranking. Some university, they said to me, Alam, this is, I remember a vice chancellor from Africa. I don't mention exactly who was he, in a big conference. And I said to Alam, this is a joke. You guys there in Europe, you are trying to dictate us. I said, why? He said to me, we were never going to compete with Imperial College. Imperial College will continue to be #1, UCL and so on. So there's a lot of issues about this. We're going to be discussing this in 2 days' time. I think in this slightly area, I'm not sure, because we're trying to, the problem we're always facing. Now I can see Professor Siska from Indonesia. In Indonesia now is very late. China, Indonesia, Australia is already very late night. This is the problem. America is already sleeping now. They are not even awake. But we're trying to make a balance. So in people in Africa, Middle East, for example, Morocco now is the same timing as London. So anyway, we're trying our best. But every time we change the timing so we can allow other people to attend. Although we highly appreciate people, all of you, but Professor Six, I think this is, thank you very much. You're still awake and attending with us. So if you want to join us, just follow up our emails and other things, but it's happening on 2 days, which is Wednesday, because today is Monday. So it's Wednesday. We're discussing also issues about ranking, and I think we will have fantastic discussion. And so thank you very much. All the best. Take care. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Professor.
All the best. Bye-bye. Thank you. So we stop that. Thank you.